but by that time she was really in a wheelchair. We had requested for a wheelchair, and when she came out, her siblings came to pick her up, her brothers, her sisters, and some friends. When they saw her, they just cried. Welcome back to our channel at We Are Ocampo. We're still continuing with the anniversary week White Couch video series.
The White Couch. The White Couch series, and today we're talking about our first year of marriage. How it was. So we finished with our amazing, crazy honeymoon. And so now we're checking into our first apartment in Marikina City. It was really beautiful. I love that apartment. It was fully furnished to my taste, you know.
Yeah, it had nice decor.
It had everything.
Big TV, yeah, overlooking.
I think Filipino interior designers are just on check. So I really liked it. Everything, it had everything, and just fully furnished. Everything was there, and it was our first apartment, and we enjoyed just being husband and
so now we're alone.
Yes. So now finally we're alone. Now we're getting to talk for hours.
Yes.
We're getting to understand each other more, our likes and don'ts. We're still in the lovey-dovey stage, you know. There's that stage where you still, there's a slight shyness, you know, and you still want to be perfect. So cooking all meals and just enjoying everything, and we'll walk around in the market. I remember in the market, every time we bought something, you'll ask the seller to explain to me how it's cooked. I'll be like, guy, what? Like, I know how rice is cooked. I don't, you know, it was basic things he's telling the seller to explain to me, and I'd be embarrassed, you know, like.
I'm sorry about that. Me, I was just thinking it was, you know, Filipino food, foreign food, maybe not having
rice
in
is
Kenya.
foreign. We'll be buying rice, and he's like, can you tell us the measurement? I'm like, wait, what are you doing? I know.
There were other things like miso, sotanghon,
pechay. We buy the pechay. I'm like, this looks like spinach, and he's like, okay, can you explain to her how it's cooked? So I'm looking like this oddball out, being explained to by every seller. Every seller, like. Remember, because and that first year of marriage, I felt like you're such a kuya, because
I was treating her like a little sister to take care of.
His little sister. And one time I'd sit down and tell him, hello, I am not Jubilee, your youngest sister. Like, that is not me. We are at par here, my friend. You know, I'll be carrying eggs, and it's like, please don't break that. Duh. So this is us just getting to understand each other, you know. And so I felt like you're carrying me. Akona nibeba mayai. That's what we say in Kiswahili, nibeba mayai. But
it was wonderful.
But it was
everywhere she was going, people were saying how beautiful she was. She looked like a beauty queen, a model.
Thank you. You're too kind.
So the apartment was in the middle of the city of Marikina, so town center. It was wonderful. We could just go everywhere and anywhere, walking distance in the park, the stadium, if you remember.
Yes,
the sports
and
complex.
now I'm enjoying jeepneys. You know, I'm still in the tourist level. Hey, let's take this jeepney, and you get on it. Oh, give me the 7 pesos, let me pay. You know, I'm the one paying. I really introduce it. I'm tourist in everything, in the country, in marriage, to the stranger, like just tourist. But that was only 2 weeks. Like
sadly.
1, 2 weeks, and that beautiful bubble ended.
Because she started getting unwell.
Yeah.
She started becoming sick. At first we didn't know what it was. And then we thought, why don't we take a pregnancy test? And sure enough, yes, she was expecting.
I was expectant.
We were very happy, celebrating the news. We couldn't believe it. But then her health just started to decline, go downhill pretty fast, rapidly. We thought it was just normal pregnancy jitters or, you know, nausea, but it turned out to be something more severe. That was pregnancy related, which is very rare. It happens to like 1% of pregnant women.
We're not talking about that today. I'm not even in the mood to talk about it.
Yeah, but
so
it was
anyway,
difficult.
so we get into a difficult pregnancy, very difficult, immediately after the 2 weeks, immediately. And all of a sudden, I can't even cook, do anything. I can't do anything. I'm completely depending on him.
She was bedridden.
I was bedridden completely, and so we decided now to move, because we're in a very far city from his family, and so we decided to move to his family where they're in another city, and we just move in with his parents so that they can help in taking care of me. So now I'm not the beautiful bride that I was anymore. I'm looking like a very, very sickly patient. Like my skin was stuck on my bones. I lost over 30 pounds, and because I couldn't retain anything. And so, like we said, we're not talking about that pregnancy, but it was difficult, and this went on for the entire 9 months. It never stopped. At any one point, it did not stop. And so we've moved from having a blissful 2 weeks, and we enter immediately into me being a complete patient and depending on my husband for everything. And my husband had to the point of even carrying me to the toilet, carrying me to the hospital. And it was so difficult because we had just started to know each other,
We were strangers 2 weeks back.
Yeah, and then now these strangers, he's turned to a full-time nurse. So he had to drop everything he was doing, everything that he was going to do and that we had planned. You know, the Bible says man plans, but the Lord directs your paths. I had moved from Nairobi, Kenya. I had moved everything. Every sibling came with one of my suitcases from Kenya. That's how much I had moved.
All her things.
All my life.
there in
I
the
moved all my
Philippines.
life, said goodbye to my country, and I moved to Philippines for my wedding. But this difficult pregnancy, so my mother had to fly in.
Back now, after
Yes.
they had returned,
After
after the
they
wedding,
so when they hear all this is going on, they come in.
they fly back in again to
And
Philippines.
she finds it's just too much, so she calls my father. My father now flies back in
Again.
to the Philippines. They're like, this is too much, we have to take our daughter. And so for sure,
Because we were
because
in and out of the hospital also.
yes, we're
the
in and I was
Philippines.
depending on IVF.
Yeah.
Completely, because
Yeah.
I was not keeping any liquid down, and
IV.
so yeah, so I needed IV. And so the thing I was craving the most was found in Nairobi, Kenya. I'm craving githeri, I'm craving pilau, farmer's choice sausage,
Muthokoi.
not muthokoi, githeri.
Oh,
Githeri and muthokoi
Githeri.
are two different
Okay,
things.
yeah.
I ate too much muthokoi in boarding school. I am not a muthokoi fan. So, but I love githeri. I love githeri, and my pregnancy loved githeri. And finding githeri in Philippines.
We tried. She would send me, I go all scour all the supermarkets there. I couldn't find
Looking
beans.
for githeri.
And my father now drives me everywhere. We go to
Yeah.
different cities looking for it. And for sure, my father found some beans, but they were just tiny.
You know, just a little.
A tiny pack.
And I'm craving for ugali and skuma, you know. And so again, they're driving again, looking for corn flour, trying to, you know, because there's nothing. If I'm not eating that, then there's nothing else I'm eating, because immediately it just approaches me like this. Like, I don't have to force myself to eat it. It just approaches. I'll be puking. And then there was something about hearing the language. If I just had somebody speak Tagalog.
Which was very difficult because she
I would
was in the
puke.
Philippines.
I know, right? So we're telling everyone around me, please speak English. I am so sorry, my in-laws. I know I was so difficult to deal with at that
No,
time.
but that was only the pregnancy. during the pregnancy.
I thought pregnancy was difficult. I said we're not going to talk about it, but it seems we have talked about it. So, I had 3 pregnancies and all were different. This is the first one, and this how it was. It was very difficult, extremely difficult, you know, until there was a hashtag started by my church in Kenya, on my knees for Liz. Because Liz was dying. I was dying.
For sure she was dying.
Every day I was dying.
No exaggeration.
Yes.
If you see the pictures, there was skin and bones, because you know when you don't retain food, that's very worrying, but you can survive. But when it's fluids, water or any other fluids that your body's rejecting, now that becomes critical very quickly. And that's what was her condition. She was just expelling every fluid Even drops of water, we would try to feed her by drops. Nothing, so she had to be on IV, but that was hurting her. And she was just skin and bone.
Any kind of smell also affected me. Like everything needed to be neutral.
Yeah,
my environment.
That's why my mom even had to completely remove the kitchen from there.
Yeah.
They had to cook in the back. Although yes, they had to cook.
Yeah, she shifted the entire kitchen.
The entire
because
kitchen.
if I would smell from far anything that has been cooked, oh, that was a whole episode. And so yeah,
so we had to fly back.
So we flew back in. Now I remember I moved with each sibling one suitcase, almost 7 suitcases of my stuff, and now I'm being forced to fly back with only 2.
And now even just the flying back was another drama in itself. So we had to move from the city we were in to Manila, where the international airport was, and book a hotel there. And remember, she can't walk. She hardly sits down. She can hardly sit down. And airlines, they don't normally allow that you fly if you're that sick. So we had to pump her up to look like, yeah, we would tell them that they were sick. She was sick, but that she could still fly because it was imperative she came home to Kenya. And so then there was a wrong ticket even at the airport when we went there. When we got there, it was just horrible.
Horrible memories.
The tickets had some issues. The airline issued the wrong tickets to us. It turned out to be for the next day. So we had to go back, check in the hotel, and then we had to stay again and wait for the next day. And it's a whole operation just to try to get her to the airport. We had limited time because she would get critical very fast. So we had a way to do that, to get through it. My mom bought her a big teddy bear. A big teddy bear to sort of hide her face most of the time, because if you would just look at her, you just worry, does she have what, a life-threatening, those diseases that is really worrying to the airline. But the truth of the matter was, it was the pregnancy that was making her that way. So we were truthful. We told the airline and the staff that she's expecting, that's why she's having a hard time, but she's okay to go home. So finally the next day we went back to the airport with the correct tickets now, and then we're flying from the Philippines, and it's the farthest place from Kenya. The US is nearer, whatever.
Europe is nearer.
Any other country is nearer. It's literally the farthest nation you can go to, Philippines to Kenya. So we had to have a stopover at a Middle Eastern country. And so that's another operation. Just even her being in the seat of the plane, I remember the flight stewardess kept asking, "Are you okay? Are you okay?" And said we would just tell them, "Yes, it's the pregnancy, but she's okay."
But why we really needed to come to Kenya is because every day I'll be craving a new thing that is not there, which is in Kenya. And so my mother, the first time she came, she brought all that githeri and ugali.
And she would cook them.
Yeah, and she would cook them, and the pilaus that I was there. But eventually then I want a new thing. Oh, I want a Kenyan.
So it ran out.
So those things will run out, and then I keep wanting something different that is found in Kenya. So the only solution was to keep me alive, since I need food. My baby needs food. We need to go to Kenya, and so that's why we came to Kenya. And also my parents just seeing me in that situation. My mother wanted to nurse me herself, and so
I think they were also thinking of me to help assist me.
Yeah, because,
and of course you're their daughter.
He's a groom. I'm not a groom. Yeah, you're a new husband, and now he's just dumped with all this responsibility, full-time 24/7 hour nurse. So you can imagine also through all that time, everything is affected. Our entire relationship is affected. Everything is strained.
Yes. Everything is just strained.
We were literally just surviving.
I remember we spent Christmas in the Philippines during that time, and it was very bleak. Of course you're going through that. But at the end of the story, we were able to land in Kenya miraculously. But by that time, she was really in a wheelchair. We had requested for a wheelchair. And when she came out, her siblings came to pick her up, her brothers, her sisters, and some friends. When they saw her, they just cried. They couldn't believe how she was looking. She was skin and bones. And yet she was a little bit better. Her father, the bishop, said in the Philippines, he saw her dying. And even me, I can tell you, with a straight face, I was seeing her dying. She was gone. It was just a miracle.
It was horrible.
We prayed, the bishop prayed, all of us we prayed, we fasted for her.
The whole church also.
Yeah, the whole church contributed to all the efforts.
And they'll just reach out to me, and I'll see this hashtag on Facebook on my news for Liz. I was just
I was getting calls. So finally, at least we're back in Kenya, and just being in Kenya, it lifted her spirits.
Yeah.
Of course, she was still sick, but now the nursing was reviving her because she's now in her family.
And I'm with my food.
With the food, with her language.
I'm still eating a little, yes.
And there's no more Filipino language being heard. Even me, I stopped talking Filipino.
I don't know why my baby was so...
And yet that baby now loves everything Filipino.
Yeah, I know. She doesn't want to hear any other language.
Yeah, she said,
you
I'm
speak
Filipino.
to me Tagalog only.
I have to tell her, you are Kenyan Filipina.
You are Filipina,
You're
Kenyan.
African Asian. Filipino.
Yet in the womb. Oh, girl.
So God was faithful. It was
faithful.
a whole drama.
Yeah.
And of course her other fellow mothers who experienced that rare condition can understand her plight, that it's really not a joke. And the whole 9 months, and doctors would tell her, oh, it will end at 3 months, it will end at 6 months, it will end at 7 months. Even on the last day it did end, but we thank God, at least the baby is alive and
So
kicking.
that condition is called HYPEREMESIS gravidarium.
Or HG.
Yeah. You know what comforts me is Kate Middleton.
The Duchess.
The Duchess. She had it, you know. And so, you know, when you go through it, you go through such depression, you know. You have to stay strong with people speaking life to you. Otherwise, you can give up, you can die. And doctors advise you to abort, by the way. Imagine.
We had a doctor also advise
We had
us
two
to,
doctors advise us to abort. Because
but
immediately
I said
abort,
no.
all your worry ends.
Yes.
And we're like, no, whatever God has given, He will bring it unto completion.
Yes.
No matter how hard it is, God will bring this unto completion. But there are times when I will be lying if I said there were times in my head when I didn't think all I need to do is abort this child and I'll be back to the healthy person I am. You know, the thought, you know, like, the enemy can bring those thoughts, but dwelling on the thought, dwelling on it is where the problem comes. And so also another thing that I did was find an online community of other mothers who are going through hyperemesis gravidarium. That support group, we're going through it at the same time. And online you can also find your same month. Like if you're 23 weeks pregnant, you find somebody's 23 weeks pregnant, and just encourage today, like today I was able to take a spoon of water, and that is such a victory.
A huge victory.
It was a huge victory without puking it, without it coming out, and you just encourage. Today I was able to eat 3 beans. Imagine. And those are the victories we'll be discussing in our support group. And funny enough, labor is just a piece of cake for me. But my pregnancies, that's just our first pregnancy. But like we said, we'll get into detail other days. So our first year of marriage, that was the past 2 weeks were that.
Wonderful.
Amazing. Like, oh, Alice in Wonderland. I'm alive. I'm enjoying Philippines. Look at me. I want a jeepney. And then
It was the
and
toughest
from
year
there
that
it
you've
was
had.
so tough. Our first year was so tough, and just from there, then being baptized again, we're new parents. We were still trying to adapt that we are strangers. Then now here we are parents. You know, when a child comes, everything changes. And so
but God was
our first
faithful
year.
through it all. That
Yeah.
He kept us, and you know that testing period
Yeah.
will really
It
shake you.
strengthens you.
Will shake you at first to see if what you're made of,
Yes.
then when you get through it, it strengthens you. And now, with God's grace, we know we can get through anything
Yes.
in life. Nothing
Every
can
time we
shake
go
us,
through a
because God
hardship,
is
we're like, we went through that.
Yes.
What is this?
Yes.
You know, like, we went through that. What is this? It was very hard, but it was such a wonderful foundation for us, because it's just such a rock. And at that time, like, I got to see my husband truly, because a woman wants to know you're loved, you know, that he was not just forced by his mother or his father. And I got to see the true love of Christ. He had the love of Christ, how he nursed me back, how he brought me back to health. I just saw Christ in him. Every time I'll just see Christ in him, because I couldn't even use the toilet without my husband. I couldn't do anything. I really needed him every step of the way, 24 hours. At some point, I couldn't even lie down because of heartburns and the acid coming back up. So he'd hold me like this the whole night. And we went through so much during that first year.
Okay.
But God
saw us through. Those are the pains, the treasures you appreciate, that it molds. And we were strangers at that time, and so going through it bonded us.
It
bonded us. We can go through anything, and then I can't say that I did it for sure. I was also many times near the end of my rope, because yes, I was not the patient, but going through that, so caring for somebody, if you've ever cared for maybe your loved one, you can know what I'm talking about, that it also drains you. So it was just God's grace. If it was just me, for sure I would have given up. I would have just said, this is the end of the road. But God was there, and also her parents, my parents, kept comforting me. They were building me up. They said, yes, we know you're going through a lot. Thank you so much for caring for Liz, for Elizabeth. So all of that helps. So we thank God for that. He has seen us through the first year of marriage. I also know in other marriages, it's usually the first year, which is difficult.
Actually, it can go either way. You can have a very good year,
the best,
or you can have a very bad year.
Okay.
Yes, it's never in between. So
right.
it's always, I know one of my friends in church, she says her first year was amazing. And I know people who say that the first year was pathetic.
Really?
I know. I'm like, maybe because you're still going through the pretend stage where, remove your shoes. Okay, I'm sorry. By the second year, remove your shoes. What's your...
you're putting your best foot forward.
It can go either way. You can have an amazing first year, you can have a crazy first year. As we say, ours was baptism by fire, because now by fire, by force, by fire, by lightning, by thunder.
But thank God we went through it,
and we began there. By our first year anniversary, we're celebrating with a 2-month, 3-month baby.
Yes.
And everybody just there like, you guys,
just
how did
memories.
you have a baby immediately?
Yeah.
Anyway, so thank you so much. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe to our channel. We're growing at a Jesus rate. Hallelujah. Somebody say amen.
Amen.
This is the rate of the Lord. No one can do it except mine. So if you haven't subscribed, you still listen to us if we inspire you one way or the other. And also, please don't skip ads. It encourages us and helps us to continue doing videos on YouTube. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I believe we have one more video.
We have one more video for this anniversary week. The
week,
White Couch series. Thank you.
Bye.